It's a bearded dragon. How old is he?
He's over 20 years old.
Wow. He looks like he's just kind of wasting away, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He's being shy.
He's old. He sleeps a lot.
This is Gus the alligator. Here's the new pool for Gus the alligator that he'll use after they cut the door in the wall. It's right outside his enclosure.
Go all the way up to the awning on the reptile house. Is that a groomer?
Yeah.
Here we go.
Prowling.
This is so cool. This is like the best weather we've had so far.
It was really hot the last time.
Yeah, it was really hot.
So this is China, and back in the back, if you move down a little further, you can see Chewy.
Yep, over there.
China and there's Chewy right there.
Ooh, Chewy's black.
You'll get lost. What are you doing?
Are they both the same size?
Yeah. So, Chewy and China are both male leopards bred for the exotic pet trade. They were born a week apart, and they had a lot of leopard cubs to take care of, so they asked if Black Pine would take two. We said sure. We had a donor actually sponsor to bring them here, so they've been here since they were 8 weeks old and actually raised by some of the volunteers that still are here. So the gold one is an Asian leopard, and the black one is an African leopard. The black one still has spots, so as we walk around, you can still see his spots. Any animal that has spots or stripes, this is their fingerprint. No two animal has the same spots or stripes. So these guys look all sweet and quiet, but you give them food and they want to rip your face off. So that makes them not so good as a pet. Also, most of your wild cats spray, marking their territory, and even though they're neutered, they still spray, unlike your house cats. These guys only like one guy that works here, and that's one of the guys that helped raise him. Otherwise, the guys have to be very cautious around this enclosure. These guys are declawed, but they can still grab you with their toes and pull you in. So you're just very cautious because they are a wild animal, even though they were raised by people. These guys are very athletic and strong. They can actually pull the equivalent of a deer up into the treetop in order to keep it safe so no other predators like hyenas or wild dogs or other large carnivores will eat their prey, because they put a lot of effort into getting a meal, and they only get about one meal once a week or every other week depending on the time of year. These guys get fed every day, so they only eat about 2 to 3 pounds a day. And they get either cow, roadkill deer, or horse. Their favorite of all of our large carnivores are the horse. Local farmers, because we are a 501c3 non-for-profit organization, will donate their cows that go lame or get down or get sick. And then the county and state will either call us and tell us a deer is hit on the road, or they will bring it to us. These guys, like I said, are 11 years old. Most of your cats, wild cats, will live about 20 years. So this is Bandit, and Bandit is a Quadrimundi. What can you guys tell me? What does he most likely resemble? What kind of animal do you know that he looks like? A raccoon. He is in the raccoon family, so he has lots of teeth like a raccoon and striped tail like a raccoon. These guys can be very aggressive like a raccoon. These guys live in the southwest United States down into Mexico and Central America. These guys are very stinky, one of the stinkiest animals that we have at the sanctuary. They will rub themselves on everything, marking their territory. For enrichment purposes, we give them perfume and cologne samples from the magazines that we get and give them to him. He rubs them all over himself because the stinkiest male gets the female. So we like it when he does that because then he's not so stinky. Being a desert animal, he does winter up in the primate house. So it gets very stinky up there with 2 kinkajous, a bush baby, and a quadrimundi because the kinkajous have scent pads on the sides of their face that they rub on everything, and the bush baby actually pees on his hands and rubs them all over everything, marking their territory. So
like
anybody
seeds.
want to volunteer during the winter to clean up in the primate house, I would more than welcome you to. O'Malley, he's laying up here, so you guys can see him once we get done talking about Walter. Hi, buddy. So he looks all sweet. He's gonna rub up against the fence, and then he's gonna reach out and he's gonna scratch me. He's gonna mark his territory. He'll pee on something too. So Walter was found running around in the park whenever the DNR gets lots of phone calls every year for bobcats running around in the park. It usually is a cat that doesn't have a tail because bobcats get their name for their short tail. So they were like, okay, you know, they go investigate, check it out. They get there, sure enough, it's a bobcat cub. They call to it, talking to it, runs up, jumps into his lap, starts rubbing and purring all over him. Again, somebody has kept it as a pet. Shortly after he got here, the owner said, yes, it's ours. They didn't have the proper permits for it, and so they didn't say, hey, we're missing a bobcat. So that's how he ended up here. So we know he's about 8 years old. And then we have O'Malley, who's laying up here, who is about 14 or 15 years old, and owner surrender. Somebody has kept as a pet. And if you guys saw Walter's big feet, these are really nice during the winter because they can actually walk on top of and run on top of the snow when they're going after prey to catch a rabbit or a rodent. These guys and anything else like your wolves or your bears that are native to North America, the farther south you go, the smaller they are, the farther north you go. The hybrid of a domestic cat with a serval. And if you guys move on down, you can, oh, here comes Bushido. He's going to come down this way. Bushido is the gold cat up there, and he's a serval. We also have Josie. Josie is one of our more recent rescues. When we went to get the bear out of Ripley, Ohio, we picked up Josie too out of West Virginia. He met us halfway. So problems being when you breed a domestic animal and a wild animal together, you have a lot of congenital deformities. So with this cat, his sinuses don't line up right, so he constantly has a snotty nose and runny eyes. He blows the biggest boogers of any animal I have ever seen. Also, because, again, the wild cat, spayed or neutered, still sprays, so he still sprays, marking his territory, and he gets quite aggressive. He tried to take out the owner's chihuahua, which, sorry, Charlie and Harmony, but I don't quite mind there being one less chihuahua in the They have a chihuahua, so, but their chihuahua is actually very sweet. One of the rare, like, 2% of the chihuahuas I've met that is actually, he's like, here comes the food cart. So Mufasa is 16 years old. He is a male lion. He weighs over 550 pounds. He is quite large for a lion. When you go to the Fort Wayne Children's Zoo, their lion is quite a bit smaller than this.
He is beautiful.
When you think about the name Mufasa, though, you know it's kept as a pet when they have Disney character names. Okay, so we had Nala, who just passed away a couple weeks ago, and Mufasa. And the other thing, too, Americans tend to want bigger is better things, you know, type of thing. So, like your German Shepherds and your Rottweilers, originally from Germany, are actually about a fourth to half the size smaller than what the American German Shepherds and Rottweilers are, because Americans breed everything larger. And that's basically what happens with Mufasa.
Gorgeous.
So we think he has some of the genetics of a Barbary lion. When you see most lions, they have a mane that's basically to their shoulders and on their chest. His actually goes all the way back to his shoulder blades and then down his belly. And these are traits of a Barbary lion that's actually extinct in the wild.
He is gorgeous, man.
A lion's roar can be heard about a mile across the African
People say
plains.
there's no God.
Yeah.
in different villages and stuff where these guys are native, they take precautions to keep them out of their homes, whereas Americans want to keep them in their homes. We have Mira, who's on the inside. Joey and Johnny grew up in the back of a semi-trailer, traveling up and down the East Coast, in cages, performing at fairs and sports shows. They're declawed, that's why you see them limping. So these guys have several different names. They're going to open up this. Oh, you're going to wait? Okay. So these guys are called mountain lions, pumas, panthers, cougars. Down in Florida they call them panthers. Out west they call them mountain lions. These guys, so a lot of people when they come around the corner and they see our black leopard, they'll say, oh, it's a black panther. There's actually no such thing. The panther is one of these guys. So these guys are about 13 years old. Hi, Mira. Mira was actually raised in a home along the Indiana-Kentucky border. She is all four declawed. And we think that they declawed her further back. When they declaw a cat, they actually cut the toes off at the first knuckle. With her, we think they did on the second knuckle because her toes are just so floppy. And here again, we don't know what her age is because she went from that home to the roadside zoo where Mufasa and some of our bears came from. And she was just, can we take her too type of thing because she had no food or water. And we had half of our board there at the time rescuing bears, so they said, yeah, let's take her.
Big hunk of meat. You know, it's coming too.
So this is Sita and Jai. Sita and Jai were the last pups born to black pine in 2000. Before we adopted the no buying, selling, breeding, trading, or seeking out animals for your entertainment. We had retired circus tigers that were living at Black Pine at the time, and that's what we were breeding to give back to these circuses and other roadside zoos. Then we decided as we started getting rescues and phone calls for other animals that we were still being part of the problem, even though we were rescuing animals, and we wanted to be a total part of the solution. So this was the last litter born. So like I said, anything with spots or stripes, this is their fingerprint. The only way to tell the difference between these two cats is by a black stripe on their forehead. So Jai here has a black blob on her forehead. Sita has a C right above that black blob on her forehead, and that's how we tell the difference. You don't see the C? Look again. Sita. Sita. Here, right here, like this. Sita.
I was looking.
Sita. Here. That can hold it in fresh food and water. You don't have to have any permits.
Wouldn't you think it'd be the opposite?
You would think. You cannot have a wolf or wolf hybrid in the city of Fort Wayne, but you can have a cougar because wolves are native. You can't have farm animals in the city of Fort Wayne, but you can have a cougar. And just like 3 years ago, a guy that had a cougar took it to the gas station with him and he got loose. Yeah.
The cougar
Got loose at the gas station. No, we weren't. I don't know if it was shot or recaptured. So these are the laws that we're fighting as the year goes on in exotic animal ownership. So that guy was shut down because of the care of his domestic animals. So he had all his domestic animals taken away because of neglect. But then the USDA said, no, we're going to shut you all the way down. And we took the rest of the wolves that were there. The rest of his cats went down to EFRC, Exotic Feline Rescue Center, which is down in southern Indiana. And they took the wolves as well, and we said, we've got the rest of the pack. Can we have the dad and the brother to the pack we already had? And they said, sure, so we went down there and got them. Unfortunately, the dad has since passed away, but the video of their reintroduction was amazing because these animals are family animals. They run in a pack of related animals. So originally, Mono was the alpha. When Dad came into the pack, she instantly stepped down, licking the inside of his mouth and submissively peeing for him and everything. It was beautiful. I had tears in my eyes. You guys probably don't like that, but it was amazing, amazing.
Takes a special person.
But he passed away due to cancer last fall, so the best 6 months of his life happened right here because they were living in an enclosure. All 6 wolves were living in an enclosure as big as the 2 Bobcat enclosures put together. So this is Roxy, and the one with the black over his eyes and on the tips of his ears is Ozzy. And then the black one with the silver tips is Fiera. We also have Malibu, who's down in this hole. That's where she spends most of her time. Everybody smell that skunk smell? Yeah. Smell that? Okay, that's them. Okay? This is an adaptation that they have as a predator to small animals. They smell like a skunk, so that way it can camouflage them from their prey. The prey thinks it's a skunk walking along, when in all reality, it's a fox. These three guys are all red fox. How many people believe me? I wouldn't lie to you, right? I wouldn't lie to you. They're red fox. No. They are inbred to get these color phases for the pet trade and the fur trade. Same with your white tigers. All of your white tigers are inbred down from the same white male tiger taken from the wild in the late 1800s. They then take those white tigers, they have a recessive gene making them white. 1 in 4 Bengal tigers, so Bengal tigers specifically carry this gene. 1 in 4 Bengal tigers then are born white, and then 1 in 12 are actually born looking like a tiger. White tigers generally have a squished kind of pug face, if you've ever seen pug or short-faced dogs, and they have an underbite, they're cross-eyed. All white tigers are cross-eyed, and their synapses and their brains don't fire right. So Siegfried and Roy, right, attacked by their white tiger. They said someone must have spooked them, someone scared them. This is not true. A tiger, if it's protecting somebody from something scary, will stand its ground. A tiger that's ready to feast takes its prey away to eat it. So that's how they were trying to say, you know, oh, it wasn't the tiger's fault. Well, the tiger was just being a tiger. So same with these guys, all inbred to make these colors. They are sold at a swap meet right not far from here, about 20 miles. And we are fighting with them right now too, because the last Saturday they were open, we got a phone call at the end of our day saying, I bought this fox, I don't know what to do with it. Can it come to you? Well, number one, he should have done his research first, but when you see a cute, cuddly thing, it's hard to say no. Number two, the guy said, if you don't buy it today, it's going to be made into a hat. I did. So this is Tasha and Taz. We also have Trouble, Mammy, Betsy, and Ben. So Taz here is probably about 450 pounds. Tasha is probably in between 350 and 400. She's saving up for winter still. You see their round claws. Brown bears have very flat feet. Black bears have very rounded feet. These guys can climb trees their entire lives, whereas brown bears can only climb until they're about 3 or 4 feet tall. So these guys can run at about 30 miles an hour. Okay? So if you're with friends being chased by a bear and you're being chased by a black bear, trip the person you're with and take off. If you're being chased by a brown bear, climb a tree or play dead because they get bored with you very easily. So these guys, these two, he okay? These two in trouble were rescued from that same roadside zoo that the wolves and Mufasa and Mira came from. When we started their rescue, they were living in 3 inches of filth with 1 inch of pond scum on their water. They just need a remote, right? Just sit back and watch TV. Trouble had no outdoor enclosure, no indoor enclosure. Every winter, he would pull his feces and make it into a nest, and the composting of that nest would keep him warm during the winter. These guys, I don't think, had ever truly hibernated because they weren't fed enough. The guy was open to the public most days, and so in order to keep them from hibernating, he wouldn't feed them enough because they don't hibernate if there's not enough food because they wouldn't make it through all that sleep. So when we got them, they were about 100 pounds underweight, and they weren't nearly ready to hibernate. We rescued them end of October, beginning of November. They ate all winter and did not slow down at all until the next summer. We moved them into here, and now they finally slowed down. But obviously Tasha still thinks that she may not get food the next day, so she still eats a lot and keeps her winter coat alive. She's just hanging out.
There is forever magic.
Betsy looks a little old.
No, when we first put them in this enclosure, either Trouble or Taz bent the handle on the door up there and got into each other's enclosure. And we're fighting over Tasha, but...
Oh.
Hi, Mammy! So Mammy is, again, our most recent rescue. We rescued her on President's Day out of Ripley, Ohio. She was being kept in Ripley next to the Rankin House. It was a very popular tourist place because it's right along the Ohio River, and it was used in the Underground Railroad. As the slaves crossed the Ohio River, they would stay at the Rankin House. So for years, people have been telling us about these Ripley bears that were living in a 15-foot corn crib their entire life. So when all of that happened over in Ohio and they started changing the laws, Mammy's friend Sid had a big stomach tumor. It was cancer, and he ended up passing away. So he said, you know, I'm done with this. I can't do this anymore with the changing laws. Can somebody come get this bear? So you'll notice that this path that she's worn here is a 15-foot diameter corn crib.
Oh, wow.
And she still continues to walk that. Now, it's only been a few months. She does travel up and down and gets around, but she still, out of habit, walks that path.